Hey everyone, welcome to my devlog. Let me start by quickly introducing myself. Roughly 4 years ago, I got into art, starting with pixel art. One day, me and my friend Damien, who's really good at coding, got an idea that we should try making a video game. From there, we joined 2 game jams and made 2 games which we later polished over the course of a couple of months and released them on Google Play. I have to say that neither one was very successful, but they did manage to win some competitions, so I can't say I'm not proud. Unfortunately, I can't tell you to go and try them because both of us have since taken a break from game development, so our Google Play account got deactivated, but we do plan on reactivating it soon. I am gonna leave our studio's website in the description though if you want to check that out. But that's all besides the point. The reason you're seeing this devlog today is because I decided to pursue my passion for games and art into university, and in order to get in, I need to make a game. Alone. A couple of issues with this. I have close to zero experience with sound design, music production, animation, and my coding skills are barely decent at best. Oh, also, I have like 2 months to make a playable product. And I'm graduating before that, so this is kind of a nightmare scenario. Needless to say, I'm not gonna touch a lot of grass until summer. Now, I'm not gonna come here and tell you that this is some sort of a dream passion game I'm making and quit the project like a lot of the other devlogs. It's simply me taking on a project that's beyond my comfort zone and sharing it with you. I also don't know if I plan on taking this game anywhere beyond the interview, but if it does manage to have some potential, I'll consider taking it further. There is gonna be some random gameplay in the back. I don't have time for any fancy graphics or anything, since I could be using this time to make the game itself. We are playing Doom Eternal this week. Incredible game, by the way. Maximize output, minimize effort. That's my motto. For now, I'm planning 1 short video a week. So, let's actually talk about what we're making. I obviously have some requirements. First of all, I gotta show some of my design process and concept art, very easy. Second of all, I need to include a timer or a collection system, also no big deal. And last of all, the theme of the game needs to be one of the 17 sustainable development goals. Now, since today's episode is gonna be all about planning, let's choose the theme together. The initial process was a free brainstorm. I just worked through the goals one by one and tried to think of an idea where you could solve said problem. Now, some genres are obviously much harder than others, but I don't think about it now, I just write down anything, and this is what we're left with. What I do now is think of some pros and cons and eliminate the ideas until I'm left with one. I immediately excluded management games since I've heard they need a lot of time and precision. And as for the other 3, neither of them are bad, but I ended up going with the first one because I immediately associated with the idea, and I had a solid vision for how it could look. After this initial brainstorm, we have a direction, and before we develop the idea any further, I made a sort of development plan which is going to consist of 6 steps. Since we are on a very tight schedule, first I need to remind myself that everything I do is working towards a functional product, not necessarily a finished one. No over-detailing, no large variety. I need to get into the mindset that I'm not working on a whole game. Instead, I'm working towards a single, solid, playable level. First, we're gonna start by planning the main concept, doing some boards and brainstorming. Next, we're gonna decide on the core features and go through a list of areas that you need for the game to work, such as animation or sound design. I'm not really sure what to call these, so for now I'm just calling them areas. We're also gonna figure out how long we have for each of them. After this, we're gonna roughly split these areas into chunks and try to order them by priority. At this point, it's probably good to mention that I'm not fully sticking to this plan, and it's meant more so as a sort of backbone for the project in case I get stuck along the way. Then, we're gonna break it down further into pieces and also do a bit more precise time management. Now it's time to separate those to the very core and create individual jobs, such as make the player's walking animation, for example. After all of this is done, we should put it all together and make a working, functioning prototype. I'm hoping for this to be ready in roughly a month, so I can figure out everything that doesn't work and still have enough time to fix and polish the game. So after this prototype is presentable, if we have some leftover time, we're gonna add things like more variation, extra functions, some lovely artwork, and so on. So let's jump straight into the game plan. I'm not gonna go over every single thing, you can just read it for yourself. So what I came up with is that you're gonna play as a sort of space gunslinger, and as you see a lot of famine caused by greed throughout the universe, you decide to mechanically modify your body in order to fight the injustice. My idea was to make a lower chaos bullet hell game where instead of fighting humongous hordes, you'll fight tougher enemies, comparable to dungeon crawlers like Soul Knight or Enter the Gungeon, for example, with the difference being that you're playing in a larger and unchanging arena. It's gonna be top-down, 8-directional, and the core of the game is gonna be reaction-based gameplay with a lot of projectile dodging and bullet patterns. And in order to include a collection system, I think it's very appropriate that you passively collect alien parts that you'll be able to use to buy some upgrades or even abilities or guns. I initially thought of the good aliens paying you for giving them food, but I quickly got rid of the idea because I think it'd be out of place morally. Since the theme we're going with is zero hunger, having them pay you, even if voluntarily, would be some questionable charity work. As for the art, not much to say here. We're going with a space theme, which is very flexible because basically any setting can pass as a far alien planet. And aside from the 8-directional movement, we're definitely going to be implementing a typical dodge, and there will be no melee as I don't see the point for that complexity. You're just going to be dodging bullets most of the time anyways. And when it comes to the actual mission, I had a bit of a dilemma on how to go about this. Should I make the plans vary in difficulty? Should they be chosen by you or at random? Damien even suggested that I could make choosing a planet into a minigame, but that idea seems way too complex for now, so we're gonna come back to these choices in the future. So, what's gonna happen is you get asked to help some starving aliens by killing evil aliens and their boss. You bring the food back, buy some upgrades, and if we have time left over, then potentially take on various missions with different enemies and difficulty level. It's actually pretty simple when you put it like that. Next, I wrote down all of the large areas I previously mentioned, and after some calculation I found out that I have 7.5 days for each one, which sounds incredibly scary, but we're 2 days in and most of the initial planning is already done. One final thing to do today is to find a name for the game. Normally I would name this whenever I want, but I really wanted to make one for the sake of the video. So once again I did my beloved brainstorming. I really like this phrase I came up with that says "no mouth left behind," but it doesn't really have a zing to it. I also thought of Famine's End. It definitely sounds better, but it's not very original. So I thought of one more name which did the trick. Our game is gonna be called Mission Nutrition. Yeah, it does sound kinda stupid, but it definitely has the zing, and it's catchy as well. I checked how original it is, and I couldn't find anything besides online food stores, so we should be fine. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe as it would definitely motivate me. Next week, we are gonna finish planning and break down all the areas into sections, and maybe even start to work on one of them potentially. So see you guys then, and bye bye.